Welcome to the Self-Storage Show, where I have conversations with my industry friends, talk with owners and vendors, and share tales about my management company, 3 Mile Storage. Let's go. Hey everyone, so I just finished putting together this new book, 3 Mile Storage Management, 3 Zones of Excellence. This is our framework for success in self-storage. Want a free copy? Okay, here's the deal. Book a strategy session with me. Together we're going to walk your business through the 3 Zones of Excellence framework. And I've done countless sessions like these over the years with many self-storage owners. I guarantee you that together, we're going to reveal some ways to increase your leads, rentals, and revenue. So go to 3milestorage.com and book your time today. Hi everyone, it's Jim Ross of the Self-Storage Show. Another episode here for you, part of the kind of interview series I've been doing. Got Marc Smith, president of Personal Mini Storage. How's it going?
Doing great today. How are you?
Good. We'll get into it here in a second, but if you don't mind, can you just kind of take a minute here and just give us a little Cliff Note version of who you are, what you do, a little history, and we'll go from there.
Sure. We've been in the business for a very long time. It's a family business, Personal Mini Storage, Orlando based. My father-in-law and his brother, my uncle-in-law, started the business many years ago, and I was, I guess, a recovering home builder and got drafted to join the family business. So we have 45 projects in mid-Florida.
Gee, there's a few worse things you could be drafted into, so that's
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad they weren't in the funeral home business because I would have had to say no.
My dad's a barber, and then the running joke was, when are you gonna get a barber? I'm gonna hand it down the clippers to you. It ain't gonna happen, Pop. So not too bad. So with your sites, you're based in Orlando, but where are the sites located geographically?
Well, we're in a 2 hour and 15-minute radius of Orlando, and
Oh,
we've been really disciplined about playing in that space. So we've passed on other opportunities. We used to have some projects in South Florida, which is 3 or 4 hours away, and we gave those up a few years ago, actually in a 1031 exchange.
really? And I like that when people have a disciplined outlook on investing and how they operate, because I've seen too many people like they just see the next shiny thing and then it's like it's a good deal, and then it just kind of falls apart. So people that are focused seem to get a little more ahead. So that's awesome.
I read a book. The author was Al Ries, R-E-I-S, and the title of his book was Focus.
Yep.
And that helped keep me on track.
No, seriously, you stick to your lane, and that's
right.
We were doing a little pre-interview. It wasn't last week. We were having a brief chat, and you mentioned something about, we were talking about rates and how you guys have your investment strategy and your pricing strategy, and we just off the cuff we talk about kind of as like a race to the bottom that we're seeing in certain markets, and certain establishments and businesses are doing that. And I don't know, I thought it'd be a good topic to have a little chat about.
Sure. Well, I think our industry, we've often asked ourselves, why do we in our industry treat our best customers, our long-term renters, the worst? And if you have an existing customer who's paying X, and then you have some vacancy and you start offering 0.5x or 0.4x, that doesn't go over so well. Now, I'm a strong believer in yield management and revenue management. We were early adopters, and I understand about supply and demand, but I am concerned that our industry has had a very quick reaction to more tepid demand. Mm-hmm. And so one of the questions I think we need to ask ourselves is, who wins in a rate war? Certainly the customer wins, but if my stores are more established, I'm probably going to be the winner versus the guy next door who just built his facility. And I think we start, this onion just keeps getting opened up, and I think we start creating challenges. So if you move someone in, if you have this rate degradation and you move someone in at a 0.4 or 0.5x rate, and then you say to yourself, well, I'm just going to move them up. So you move them up after 3 months, after 2 months, and you move them up every month or two. Certainly the customer isn't winning, and there may be rate recovery, but at what expense? So does the customer now have a negative taste about your store, ABC Storage, or in our case, Personal Mini Storage? Or do they just view the industry as a whole and say, this industry is tainted, this industry has problems, this industry is unfair? So I think to some degree, many of us get very caught up in these knee-jerk reactions on rate, and we start really, really focusing on physical occupancy. In our company, in the way we've always played the game, is we're really concerned with economic occupancy. So if our highest performing store is in the mid 90s in physical occupancy, and the economic occupancy is over 125%. So now, I'm sure that there are some people who are going to view your show and say, Mark, his rates are too low. But our rates are set with the market, our standard rates, and the manager is able to move the rates up or down based on demand. Yeah. So we do reset our rack rates or our standard rates once a year. And then you have a new guideline to go by. And the manager is incentivized based on economic occupancy. So I, for one, listen, during the COVID period, it was wonderful when there was tons and tons of demand. Yep. I mean, I look like a genius, like everybody else in our industry.
You do no wrong, yep.
Right. But the reality was that it was, an atypical time in terms of demand. Mm-hmm. So without lecturing people too much, I think we should all look at our business and look at our customer base and look at our product and say, how do we focus a little bit less on physical and a little bit more on economic? Mm-hmm. I personally don't like to be full physically, because then I have no spaces to rent. Yep. And then when Don, the developer, or Debbie, the developer, goes by my store and says, well, they're out of units, so I should build across the street or down the street, I'd rather have units available. Mm-hmm. So if I can get that physical occupancy to that sweet spot, let's just say it's the low 90s for us in terms of physical occupancy, and we keep pushing that economic occupancy higher and higher, I think we're playing the game pretty well. So
I love that. I mean, and the fact that you're kind of setting your rates kind of, I don't know if you do it at the beginning of the year, but it's once a year, you're kind of setting that standard rates, adjusting when you have to adjust. But then you're giving that autonomy to the manager to be able to make those decisions. And it shows a lot of faith in your managers. That's incredible that you do that. And I'm sure you're overseeing it and watching and making sure it's not going crazy, but I don't hear that from anybody. Frankly, I don't. I'm doing it that way, and I love that idea, because they know that store inside and out. They know that market inside and out. They have their finger on the pulse of not just what's going on at their location, but the surrounding companies and competition. That's I don't know. I could go off for a long time about that one, but that's a great strategy. I really like that. Good job.
I think a lot of us, especially the bigger players, have quants in their office who looking at the dynamics and looking at demand and trying to adjust and stay one step ahead of the game. And there's value in that. And certainly I think we have great people doing it. The reality is, as you described, is the manager really knows what's going on in their micro market, is what we call it. Mm-hmm. So whether it's beginning of the month, the end of the month, whether there is road blockage because of road expansion, or they're building an apartment complex next door, those people can really react much faster than my mathematician in the office. So, and then based on how they're incentivized, they really want to try to move this economic occupancy needle. So we offer a move-in bonus to all site managers.
Okay.
And starting next month, which is only a couple of days away, we're going to offer a kicker through the end of the year for full boat rentals. So for full boat, for us, we're defining that as they get the rate that we kind of want without Uber discounting. They collect the admin fee. They sign the person up for auto pay, and then they get the person signed up for tenant insurance. So we're calling that a full boat rental.
Yeah.
And hopefully that'll incentivize them to kind of, follow the behavior that we kind of really want. I mean, anyone can give away the store. It's the great salesperson
it's
who
the
could.
sales that come in. That's a lost art.
Right.
Sales. And again, this conversation kind of goes so many different ways, but that's what I like about this kind of show. Gives us a platform to do this. Because I hear that so often of like, how do I incentivize my manager? And as soon as I start talking to an owner about bonus structure and things like that, the first thing they think of is, ooh, it costs money? Like, no kidding. You got to incentivize and have some sales, things that's what makes a good salesperson. And you're going to make a lot more money on the back end than what you're going to give as a bonus to the manager. And you keep the managers longer and they're happier. And anyway, there's a whole thing you can go when it comes to bonus structures. There is. It just feeds upon itself. And the fact that you guys have that, and that's all.
We do a little third-party management. And years ago, I had a client who called up and said, I've been looking through the financials, which I never do. And I spoke with one of my buddies who knows this business. And he says, you're overpaying your manager. I said, really? It's interesting you say that. What bothers you? And he was talking about the incentive line in the compensation, not the base pay, the incentive line. So I said to the owner, if it goes to zero and you save that amount, are you going to be happy? He says, well, I'm not saying that. And I said, well, let me ask you, if I could make you $100, but it's going to cost you 20 or 30, are you willing to pay 20 or 30 for another 100? And he said, I'll never ask another question again. That's a true story.
Exactly. It's the reward, and you incentivize, the right way. And I'm just curious, if you don't mind me asking, so you do it like on if they all move ins, if they participate in a good rate, you're not giving away the farm, they get the insurance. So that's good.
So we don't incentivize based on tenant insurance because they are in Florida. You really have to pass this state test to be incentivized for insurance sales. So what we do is we incentivize based on revenue and occupancy and move-ins and ancillary sales. Nice. So for ancillary sales for us are moving supplies and truck rentals.
Gotcha.
So we've gone through many iterations. Right now, for years, it's been fairly simple. And, I just remember that keep it simple, stupid kiss. Yeah. So try to keep it simple so that everybody understands it. Not only the people who are getting incentivized and getting paid,
that's
but
my kid guy.
Yeah, Gene
keep
Simmons.
It simple. See, keep it simple. Kiss. So
yeah. But we also want everyone in our home office team to be able to explain it. And the more complicated it is, then they get lost, and then we look unorganized.
Yep. Keep things simple. That's a great way to look at it. And you mentioned something, I know we're kind of going all over the place, but you mentioned something earlier in the conversation about sometimes we put this race to the bottom and these specials that, other companies are doing, and then they're raising them like crazy a few months later. I'm starting to see it. I don't know if you'll watch, but I like to keep tabs on the reviews. I got certain companies on reviews. I'm starting to watch it, and it's starting to hit. And it's like a 3-month mark. And I've seen these guys raise me $50. I'm only paying $60. It's like almost 100% increase. I've seen it over and over and over again. And you mentioned, like, are they going to think just bad about that store or as a whole? I think it paints us all in a bad with a bad brush, because that's just bad taste in that customer's mouth of all these storage guys are just out to take what they can and get you in the door and then raise you 100%. It's like, so be interesting to see how this all plays out, because I know these guys have all the data and all the analytics and all the things that they're trying to get that balancing act going. But in the meantime, there's a lot of casualties that's happening right now.
I agree with you. Whenever I meet a new person and I tell them that what do you do? What do I do?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them say I have a storage unit now. I mean, years ago, not so many people had them. And it's interesting when I ask, who are you storing with? A very small percentage of the people remember the name of the place that they're storing.
Yep.
So that's one of the reasons I made that comment a few minutes ago, is I think it paints it, to use your term, I think it paints us all in a bad light. And I don't know. I know I would be disappointed if that happened to me.
Yeah, I know. I put myself in that person's position, especially when people are, let's call it is, when they're moving. No one moves for kicks and giggles. They're already going through some stuff,
Right.
death, divorce, whatever. I don't know. And to me, I would much rather stand behind my product and have good pricing than playing that kind of game, because that just seems like that's more hurtful down the road. Then you deal with all those kind of reviews. And again, and they're smarter than me. They know what they're doing. There's reasons for it, but for me, it's
100%.
business and the ones that my clients that I talk with, and it sounds like the way you're operating, different kind of values of what you're sticking with. So no, I like that. I like to speak with like-minded people that way.
I visit. I always visit stores during the week, and oftentimes when I visit the stores, or every time I visit a store, I talk with a manager and I ask them, what do you think about the market conditions? What would you change?
Yeah.
And oftentimes I get feedback that our competitors' pricing strategies are helping them. So if XYZ Storage is raising their tenants 40 or 50 bucks after 3 months, sometimes those folks leave and then they'll come to us out of need. So while I think we've benefited to some degree, I think overall, if I had my druthers, we would get away from this as an industry.
I hope so. Sooner rather than later. Because
I'm not against existing customer rental increases. What I'm against is egregious moves after a short period of time, and then frequent moves.
Yeah. Or the ones, you also touched on this, because I just talked to an owner last week that was in this position of, he's in rent up. He's kind of a brand new site, and it's hard to make some of these numbers pencil out when they're just giving away the farm. It's hard. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how this falls in the long run here. But I got more value out of this talking to you about the bonus stuff, because I love it. Seriously, I didn't know it was going to go that way, but I love hearing that kind of thing. That I'm talking with other owners about a bonus structure that have, because again, I'm the remote management guy. I do a lot of my sites remote managed, but I still have plain sites that are still traditionally, and have the manager there and talk with owners this way. They're your backbone of you live and die by the success of your manager. So give them the incentive, give them the tools to make your business successful. And it sounds like you guys are doing that. So it makes me happy. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. We were more successful a couple of years ago than we are today, but I think we all were.
I think we all were. But it's those sound strategies and having that good foundation, which it'll get you through the rough patches. I mean, we were all geniuses a couple of years ago. I don't care who you were.
Exactly.
Well, again, thanks so much for taking the time. If you don't mind, before we go, people want to, maybe get more information, find out more about your companies. Where do they go to?
Yeah, you can just look us up at personalministorage.com. And we're Florida based.
Yeah.
So hope your attendees get something out of this, and hope everyone has a great week whenever they view this. Take care.
All right.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks so much, Mark. Good to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Before we wrap up, just a quick reminder. Do you want to level up your storage game? Visit theselfstorageshow.com. Grab some high-value freebies, check out top vendor spotlights, and stay in the loop with our newsletter. Do you want to chat about becoming a client with 3 Mile Storage Management? All the info's there. Plus, if you've got a story to share, we're listening. Everything you need is at theselfstorageshow.com.